All right. Again, guys, welcome to this afternoon's info session. So excited to have you here and to share more about Praxis. The quick version, Praxis is a college alternative that builds your skills in your network. Personally, I think it's the fastest way to get ahead. Without a degree, no student debt required. We'll dive into what that means, how it works, why Praxis, all that in just a little bit. But I think the best place to start is just by telling a story. And first, the best story I can tell is just my own story. I was the high achieving young person, the get straight A student, have my entire life planned out ahead of me for years and years. That was me from, very, very young age all the way through high school and going into college. I knew that I wanted to go to medical school because that was the most impressive, prestigious thing that I could think of. And when people ask me, that inevitable question, what do you want to be when you grow up? I had a very easy, nice, prestigious sounding template that I could reference. I'm going to go to medical school. And nobody would ever pry any deeper than that. But deep down, I always had this burning question inside. Is there something else? Is there something bigger? Is there something else that I'm missing? And none of that really made sense to me until I got into college. I went to college. I was on the route to go to medical school. And my sophomore year of college, I got involved with a very early stage startup. When I started working with a business contrasted with going to school, I started seeing the world in an entirely different way. It was an entirely different way of working on things and solving problems, and it was very exciting. And I remember spending so much of my time in college figuring out how I could get more of that same feeling, working on businesses, solving problems in the real world, as opposed to being bored sitting in class. Well, none of that really sank in deep enough for me, because fast forward several years, when I got out of college, I kind of ran into the same thing. I still didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was scared because I didn't have a life plan. And I thought, if not medical school, sure, why not? I'll do the next most prestigious sounding thing. I'll go to law school. So I set down that path. It was several years out of college, headed to law school. That's what I was telling everybody. I started working a ton of different jobs, trying to get experience, trying to save money on my path to go to law school. And about the time, that's when I met Isaac Morehouse, who was the founder of Praxis. And for the first time, I'd been through years and years of school, I'd graduated college, I'd worked tons of jobs, but for the first time, somebody asked me a new question. They asked me a question that I'd never really heard before, but I'd never really thought through either. It said, what makes you come alive? And I had to wrestle with that question for a long time. Remember, because I didn't have a great answer. And the more that I thought about it, the more I realized school wasn't the answer. And he challenged me on that spot. He said, give yourself 1 year. He said, give yourself 1 year. I'm going to make some introductions for you. If you're not close to your goals and still want to go back to school, it'll still be there. He said, let me introduce you to some people. Let me get you involved with some businesses that are doing exciting things. Go give yourself 1 year to learn, to try new things, to experiment with businesses, to work with some entrepreneurs and see if you're a little bit closer to your goals. And I can tell you, looking back almost 6 years later now, I've never looked back. It was the best decision I ever made. Isaac founded Praxis. It was very early on in the founding of Praxis, where I got to be in one of the first classes. I got to go through and I got to make that leap. And it saved me from a lot of trouble. I was on the cusp of going back to law school. And instead, I got a direct route into the real world. I got to work directly for the CEO of a fast-growing company. I got a real on-the-job learning experience that I would say was more valuable than an MBA and the law degree I was going to get. And I got ahead. And in that process, what I learned is not just valuable skills. Not only did I grow my network and get access to some cool roles that otherwise I might not have had, but I found what makes me come alive. And it's doing the exact same thing that Isaac did for me. It's getting to work with young people while they're on the cusp of making that big decision. What do I want to be when I grow up? Or trying to figure it out, trying to figure out what the next step is. And that story segues really nicely into the why behind Praxis. Why does Praxis exist? Which I think is the most important thing you should walk away with today, in addition to understanding what we do, is Praxis exists to help you discover and do what makes you come alive. And that's a bold thing. We don't say that to be cliche, but it is a fundamentally different thing than trying to figure out what major you want to pursue, or what job you hope is going to be waiting on the other side of college. Praxis exists to help you discover and do what makes you come alive. If you look out in the real world today, there are so many startling statistics today. And I think that the narrative around college is starting to change, fortunately. But if you go ask students why they choose college, over 50%, 58% of students claim that they go to college to access better jobs. But in contrast, out in the real world, 75% of all jobs in the United States workforce do not even require a bachelor's degree. Average college graduate walks out with over $30,000 of student debt, and nearly 50% of all college graduates are underemployed in their first job. When you start to look at some of these statistics, I don't know about you, but I start to scratch my head and ask, like, is college the best next step, but is it the right next step for so many people? And I think that we're in a time and place where there are so many different options opening up. I'm excited that Praxis is one of those options. So what is Praxis? Let's get down to the nuts and bolts. Praxis is a college alternative that builds your skills and your network. Some more stories here before I highlight how we make that work. Mitch Broderick was one of the very first Praxis participants. He's almost 6 years out of the program as well. He was a college dropout. Mitch was working at Taco Bell. He was pursuing community college at the time. He wanted to save money. He felt like college was going to help him get ahead. And he enjoyed his job. He was on the path to becoming a manager, making good money as far as he was concerned. And that's when some things in Mitch's life changed. He came across Praxis. He dropped out of college, and a year later, Mitch landed a full-time job in sales at a media company. In Mitch's first job, he went through some highs and lows. He entered a point where, he had to figure out where it was tough, but he continued to work through it. He learned the ropes, and he succeeded. In that first year, graduating Praxis, Mitch made over $100,000. Today, he's the senior vice president, leads the sales team at a marketing agency for real estate companies. Mitch is one of the best sales guys I know. And he's just a testament of pushing all your chips in and investing on yourself, taking that bet. Haley, again, she decided not to go to college. She was a photographer. She had experience as a bank teller. She went through Praxis, was hired full-time as operations specialist. Kamal, again, he went through college, similar to my story. He had some work experience, but still wasn't quite sure what he wanted to do. When he came through Praxis, he focused on marketing. He was hired afterwards full-time as a marketing associate, and he's worked his way up. He's at a very large nonprofit, and he's an integral part of their marketing team. Another awesome success story here, Tyler Hawk, who very similar to some of these stories. He was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. He had the associate's degree. He was in a band. He was trying to make music work. He was trying a bunch of stuff. He was working at the Apple store, bartending, working a lot of jobs and trying to figure out how to make that next step happen. And he kept questioning, should I go back to college? Should I go get the bachelor's degree? Is that going to help me get closer? And that's when he came across Praxis. He dropped out of college, did not finish his bachelor's degree. And Tyler was just promoted to director of marketing of a very fast growing early stage company, which is an awesome story because when he got hired, he came in at the ground floor very much as kind of the guinea pig, getting to work directly for the CEO. And whatever the most pressing problem the company needed, Tyler got to be that guy and jump in on the ground floor. And the experience he gained was truly incredible. He got a career's worth of experience in a very fast time, was recently promoted to director of marketing, and excited to watch where he goes from there. So those are some stories in terms of like, who does Praxis? What are the outcomes? But how does it work? Let's get down to the brass tacks here. The quickest version is Praxis is a boot camp plus a job backed by an awesome community. Our boot camp is 6 months. It focuses on career discovery. So when you jump in, we're going to help you gain a very strong understanding of business, what it takes to succeed in business, how business works, what are the core functions of a business that you need to know. And as you gain that exposure, you're going to be doing week-long sprints on projects to help you build your skills, to help you better understand business, to help you better understand how specific functions of a business work, like sales, marketing, customer support, operations, things that are going to be valuable for you no matter what you choose to do with your career. And like many of our graduates who do go on to start their own businesses or have that entrepreneurial itch, those skills are going to be critical to your success when you go on down the road to do that. 6 months, hands-on business training. You're doing that alongside peers and professionals. So what is the boot camp like? Some quick high points. You're working on real world projects. These are not assignments that you turn in for a grade. We do not assign homework. You're doing week-long sprints, real world projects that help you build the skills you need to succeed in the real world. We also host bi-weekly workshops. Every Monday night, we bring in an expert who's been there and done that. They're out in their, they're well on their way in their career. They are subject matter experts, and they come and they speak frankly with our participants and our alumni. They share their experiences and things that they've learned and give them a great overview of different career paths. The cool part about that is that as participants and alumni who are very early in their careers and just starting out, you're getting a great variety of connections, professional connections to people who are going to open doors and you can learn from. We also have Wednesday night workshops for our participants as they go through the program to workshop curriculum, live coaching, and group work sessions, one-on-one coaching anytime you need it with our advisors and our staff. And the cool part about these real world projects is that you're also giving and receiving peer and advisor feedback. So as you're creating things, you're cultivating the habit of learning out loud, where you can no longer complete a homework assignment and hide it away. You have to put it out there and learn what it's like to put your work into the real world and get feedback and learn, is it valuable or is it not? And that learning is cemented whenever you get to give feedback on your peers' feedback, your peers' projects as well. And then lastly is fully remote, which is a high point. You can complete the boot camp anywhere, anytime, as long as you have Wi-Fi connection. Those weekly workshops are live. So there's 2 requirements, Monday and Wednesday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern. But beyond that, you can complete it anywhere, anytime, asynchronously. So the job, what is the job like? So as you're going through the boot camp, our placement team is going to be working with you to build a very strong signal. As you build those projects, you're going to walk away with a fantastic portfolio that showcases the skills you've built and the types of things you're good at, interested in, your personality, and let hiring managers, get a sense of who you are. We're going to make those introductions to business owners and hiring managers. We're also going to teach you how to pitch yourself. This is valuable not just when you're on the job market, but anytime you're in the professional setting and trying to figure out how to pitch somebody, how to convince somebody to fund your idea, whether it's getting promoted, whether you're trying to push a project through in the real world. The pitching process that you learn during placement is going to help you get ahead. You're going to be able to use that template for success even after you get hired. We guarantee that you get hired. We are so confident in the process that we run that you will get hired. Whenever we do work with a new company and hiring manager, it is very, very common that they walk away saying, I want to hire another Praxis participant. And that is a process that we've run for hundreds of people. It works. If you complete the boot camp, you're going to get a job. But where do grads get hired? Which is a frequent question. So we're not just helping people go get, a wage job or a restaurant job down the street. These are real in-demand roles. When I say in-demand roles that are very translatable across different companies and across different industries. You're going to walk away with not only strong professional communication skills, but tangible skills like sales, marketing, customer support, operations. You're going to know how to jump in and create value for a company. What types of companies? I say top companies, but the types of companies that we look for have a number of different things going for them. You either have direct access to an entrepreneur or founder that you can learn from, or great mentors. The company is growing in early stage where it offers you the chance to dive in and learn a lot on the job. You get exposed to different types, different functions of a business. You also get to build your network. So when I say growth opportunities, these are companies that offer you the chance to start strong and grow with a company. If you don't stay there, then the experience is going to translate well if you go look for another job. It's very common that our graduates do stay for companies, for multiple years. they advance through the ranks quickly, but it's also common that, after a couple of years, they get the experience they want and they arbitrage that experience to go get an even better job at a company that excites them more. Many of our grads also go on to start their own companies, or launch their own freelance gigs. The experiences they get at those types of companies translate very well and offer them a learning experience that's just unmatched by school. And the last point here is thriving cities. We try to find the right mix. When you're relocating across the country, we try to find that right mix where there is ample opportunity. There are other people that you're interested in being around and networking and getting to know. There are companies doing cool things, and those hubs are all over the country. Lastly, the community, something that I think is truly one of the most valuable things, not just in my own, on my own bias point of view, but consistently our grads walk away saying the community is the most valuable part of their program experience. Our community is awesome because it's not just open to participants. We aren't just sending you on your way and telling you good luck once you graduate, but you are plugged into a very strong community of other young professionals all over the country who are eager to learn and perfect their craft. We have awesome groups like a sales mastermind, marketing mastermind, a creative mastermind, people that come together organically and talk about their craft, about the things they're working on, and figure out, collaborate together how they can get better. We have a book club. We have, social channel, all people online all over the country. And the cool thing about where our grads get hired as well is we have a strong ecosystem in many of those hub cities where our graduates go on to work, where they are arranging meetups, they're building their network. And it's not uncommon for many of our grads down the road, a couple of years out, when they're looking for their next gig, to go work at a company where there's already a Praxis alumni working at, or to go work for a Praxis alumni who started their own business. Those types of awesome things are happening all the time. And it's truly one of the coolest things to be a part of. So the big question, is Praxis worth it? I want to cover some quick stats just to give you kind of an idea of how well it's working. We have a 90% graduation rate. I would be honest, the boot camp is very difficult. Not everybody makes it through. Some people decide that it is a little bit too intense, or they're no longer interested in it. But 90% of everyone who starts the program, they graduate, they land an awesome job, and they start their career strong. For $12,000 total tuition, which covers everything, our grads are walking away with a fantastic outcome, in my opinion. $50K start average first year salary, which is right on par with college graduates across the country. We've done this for over 300 people. We have a thriving and growing alumni community. I'll give you just one more quick contrast, about the different routes people choose. These are some stats pulled from United States Bureau of Labor Statistics. Average starting income for the high school diploma is around $37,000. A bachelor's degree just over $50,000, which is just right in the same ballpark as Praxis, except you do it in 6 months. You're gaining work experience. You're not waiting 4 years. So my challenge to you is see how far 1 year investing in yourself will take you. If you're interested in learning more, but happy to have a call with you, or go ahead and submit your application today. All right. That was the quick version. Now I want to open it up to questions. I know that's a lot of information all at once. Feel free to unmute yourself and chime in over audio, or just drop your question in chat. Whichever works best for you. All right, so what are the prerequisites you look for in applicants? So unlike college, we don't look for your test scores. We don't care about your GPA. What we do care about is your work ethic. Are you somebody who's going to work hard? Are you willing to put in the time and effort that it takes to be successful? Because this boot camp is intense. It is very much, you get out of it what you put into it. that is one of those kind of key critical components is, are you willing to work hard? Some basic work experience is preferable. There is something about getting that first work experience that just helps, helps in the placement process, but also helps in the mindset as you go through our curriculum and the bootcamp experience. It adds a little bit more context for what you're learning. And then one of the key things is, written and verbal communication. That is kind of a baseline. Is, are you able to communicate? Otherwise, you can learn more on our website about kind of those things that set up participants for success. But if you're willing to work hard, you can communicate, and you're willing to put in that work, you're going to be successful. So what opportunities do you have for grads in Canada, specifically Toronto? So our core focus is working with businesses in the United States. We have had participants and graduates work in Canada, work remotely in the past, but our core focus in terms of the business partnerships that we have today is in the United States. That's not to say that you can't still be successful and land jobs there, but we do strongly encourage all of our participants to relocate anyway. That does vastly expand the pool of opportunities available to you. But if you do get accepted and you do have a geographic restriction, the earlier we know that in the placement process, the better we can help you prepare for that. So that's a great question. What I think makes me come alive is writing. Do you have any tracks for writers? So that's actually a fantastic question. So first of all, there are so many countless different career paths in writing, whether that's, becoming a copywriter, working in marketing or content marketing or technical writing or anything along those lines. But we've also had a number of different participants go on to either work exclusively on their writing or become published authors. I know of two of our participants that one is about to publish her first novel and the other one is very close to finishing her first draft of her first novel. And that's something that they're doing full time. They went and got some awesome experience for a year or two. And then they went full time on writing as their craft. In both of those particular circumstances, the skills that they learned during Praxis enabled them to kind of fund their craft, their passion. They freelance on the side in terms like marketing or other things, skill sets that they have in order to fund that thing that they're most passionate about. Is Praxis a good fit for STEM leaning individuals, engineer types, in other words? So we have had some so like computer science and developers come through in the past, but that is very much self-taught curriculum. Our sweet spot is really kind of those core entrepreneurial business functions, sales, marketing, operations, customer support. There are hundreds of different specific job titles and roles within those different functions. But as far as engineering, that's definitely not our sweet spot. There are a lot of coding boot camps out there that do a great job, but we have had participants come through and build their own curriculum. They've landed awesome jobs. I know we've also had somebody come through from a much more technical background that started their own company. You're gonna be in great company in terms of the professionals you're gonna be around. The skills you're going to learn are still going to be valuable, and we're still going to help you navigate that placement process, learn how to pitch yourself. And you're also still going to have access to that community. So there are still attributes for that. But if you're looking purely for a coding bootcamp, I would say, there are tons of great ones out there. I'd recommend starting your search on Career Karma. Looking for film, media, content placement roles. That's like a slam dunk opportunity in terms of the types. One of the things that I think we're really good at delivering outcomes for is like that entry-level marketing role. We have a lot of our graduates go on to work as marketing associates, get that critical experience in content marketing, SEO, which today does have a huge emphasis on media, film. As far as purely working in the film industry, that's something that, we don't have business partners directly working in Hollywood or anything like that, but we do work with companies in nearly every industry across the country. If there are specific skills that you have, there are countless ways that we can help you figure out how to leverage those and unlock those career opportunities. Great question. Do you have any opportunities in Arizona? So that is a great hub city, or not city, but around the Phoenix area. There are a lot of companies there. I don't know why I can't think of a name of another city off the top of my head there. But so when we look at cities, there are a few different factors. We will help people land jobs all across the country, cities like San Francisco, Boston, New York, like those are things that you would probably expect for like early stage or fast growing companies. But we also look for cities that offer, kind of a better bang for your buck cost of living and also still that awesome opportunity. So things like Salt Lake City, Denver, Austin, Texas, Georgia, or Atlanta, Georgia, Charleston, Tampa, Florida, and Arizona. I want to say either Tempe or Phoenix, both kind of fit that matrix. And there's a lot of startup activity in that part of the world as well. Will I have time to do Praxis in my high school senior year while doing 3 to 4 academic courses, or does it require full-time commitment? Fantastic question as well. So I always tell people 10 to 15 hour commitment, 10 to 15 hours per week. If you can reasonably commit that, where that's focused work time, including your weekly sessions that you're attending, you can be successful in Praxis. But it is up to you if you want to double up on your commitments. Your high school senior year is maybe a little bit different than trying to juggle college and Praxis at the same time. The outcome, we're gonna help you get in terms of landing that first professional opportunity, something that excites you and leverages the skills that you've built. That's probably a little bit more a better situation for a high school senior. But bear in mind, many of our companies, not just our business partners, but many companies, they are, as long as you're 18, there may be some restrictions in terms of like, relocating across the country. They will want to, with our younger participants, there is sometimes, just they want to make sure that you feel comfortable moving across the country at that age. So that would be my one kind of stipulation there. Happy to talk further on that too, if you want to connect offline. Is there a minimum age requirement? So yes and no. Like I just mentioned, there are some of those restrictions in terms of like companies aren't going to hire you if you're younger than 16, but having a little bit of work experience under your belt is going to be valuable as well, which is kind of the same thing. It's like, in order to get that, in many cases, you're going to have to be, at least 16 to go get a year or two of work experience. So I always, like to use the ballpark of like 17 to 27 is kind of the sweet spot of where I think we're absolutely the best at what we do for helping people unlock that next career or first career opportunity. My end game is to be a film director. Will Praxis enable me to get on that track with your placements? So that's an interesting question. And I guess I would say, I'll throw the caveat out there of like, it depends on what kind of film director you want to be. We have multiple graduates who are running their own media agencies now. They are directing their own videos. They are shooting them. They are selling them to clients. Clients are hiring them to create marketing assets or videos or short films or explainer videos or whole spectrum of like video creation. And they're doing great. I was just talking to one of our grads a while back, and I'll be completely honest, I had a small project in mind, and I was like, hey, what do you think this would cost to do? And he's like, not on your budget. Like I sent him a budget, and like he's his own business owner, and he's in his mid-20s, and that's awesome. And he's living in one of the most expensive cities in the United States. And we have grads doing, several grads who've gone on to be very successful doing that exact same thing. You don't have to go the entrepreneur route, do it on your own. There's also tons of opportunities in that space working for a company. So I would say if that's something you're excited about, there's tons of opportunities there. Fantastic question about tuition. So our all-in tuition price is $12,000. We offer a number of different payment plans to make that very flexible. If you have concerns about that, I would say go ahead and submit an application. Don't let that be the holdup. We will figure it out, but we're not going to put you in a situation where you're worried about racking up student debt. The types of outcomes that our graduates get in terms of income, let alone the actual types of job, is sufficient enough to pay it back within 6 months of graduating the program. General acceptance rate. So we do have a very selective admissions process. We admit historically between 12 and 15% of all applicants. great question. How does Praxis prepare me to launch a film media career? What did the guy who used do for his real world weekly sprints in terms of projects? So I can't tell you off the cuff what projects he did. I do know that he went and worked for a very high-end media agency, advertising agency in Manhattan, New York for about 2 years right after he graduated. And I'll also tell you that he was on the younger end, and it was one of those things that was kind of scary. And he was kind of nervous about his age because he was coming in there very young and clearly one of the younger guys on the totem pole. And he was very successful. Like he was truly very successful. After a couple years working there, the company wanted him to start and run a new department just doing film production for them. That's when he went off and did his own thing instead. So in terms of landing that type of role, like that's what our bootcamp is designed to help you do. Is if the more specific outcome you have in mind in terms of like the things we're good at, the better prepared you can be during that placement process. And what I mean by that is you can start working on projects that are going to directly translate into the types of skills you'll need to be successful to get hired in that type of role. So that could be creating films. That could be, contracting out, like trying to earn a couple of freelance gigs for companies who need videos made and pitching them on those ideas and getting a client and building some real proof of work and building up your own professional portfolio so that when we go and, help you in the placement process, pitch companies for that type of role, you have a portfolio to point to and say, hey, I've already been doing this. Look at my work. That's going to be kind of the direction that we would go, but there's probably other projects we could help you come up with. 10% who leave the program, what are the typical reasons? So it's a combination of just not making the cut. So people who stop turning in deliverables. And again, I'll go back to what I said. This isn't about homework, turning in homework for assignments. What we are going to hold you accountable. Not only are our advisors going to hold you accountable, but your peers are going to be held accountable too. We want you to take our time seriously, just like we want you to take your time seriously. And so in cases where participants fall behind, if you get a couple weeks behind, very difficult to catch up because we move at a fast pace. Other things, just like maybe they decided decided that they don't want to relocate, or they decided that they're not ready to go out into the real world. There's no harm, no foul done there. That does happen. Or in some cases, we've had people just launch their own freelance thing and they've decided to kind of go that own route and for whatever reason. But it's a very small percentage overall in terms of people who just decide no longer like it's no longer for them. Is Praxis good for wanting to become an accountant? So if you're hell-bent and already know you want to be an accountant, and in particular, if you want to go the CPA route or into more of that like legitimate public accounting career path, I would say Praxis is not a great fit for you. If you're not sure that you want to be an accountant and become a CPA, but you want to work in that industry, then I would say like this is a much cheaper and faster and more effective way to explore that. I'll tell you about my own experience. I was literally weeks away from starting law school in an MBA route. I knew that I had a very big interest in corporate finance and working in business and operations, and like numbers was always my thing. And I actually started working, I got placed at a very early stage accounting firm that was transitioning to build accounting software. I worked there for 3 years as it grew from 20 to 160 employees. I got to work directly for the CEO. And, that was kind of a giant springboard for me. I got to literally learn financial accounting from CPAs. I got to take a ton of courses. I got kind of a world-class business and accounting and financial accounting education. As a result of that, I'm not going to say that we have thousands of those specific opportunities available, but if you are looking to explore a career path short of like waiting 4 years to figure out if it's the right fit for you, that may be a better scenario. All right. What other questions? Any others? This is fun. Thanks so far. These are great questions. Keep them coming. All right. Well, if any more questions come in, I'll address those. But all right, how involves the application process? Perfect. So our application process is 3 steps. The first is a written portion, and the second and final are interviews. Not everybody makes it to the final round interview, but if you put your heart and energy into the essays, there's a very good chance you will be invited to a first round interview. What we're looking for, like I mentioned earlier, kind of a track record of success, some work experience. Are you a hard worker? Do you have a good work ethic? Do you have some strong references who will speak on your behalf? Do you have any kind of skill sets that are interesting? Things you're excited about? Are you intellectually curious? Do you like to solve problems? Those are types of things that I would say, put your personality and the things you're good at and the experiences you have, whether they're jobs or clubs or volunteer work, whatever it is that you have. Everybody has an awesome story. Like, tell your story in the application process. What does Praxis have a formula or philosophy for success? In other words, what mindsets, character traits, practices, or habits do you drill in your participants? I think number one is the value creation mindset. And what I mean by that is not looking out into the world and waiting for somebody to tell you what to do or for an opportunity to be given to you. But I think our graduates are absolutely phenomenal at going into real world situations and figuring out how to solve problems, how to create value. And that term, creating value, that phrase has become really cliched these days. When I say that, I mean people who don't wait to be told what to do. Since I graduated from Praxis, over 5 years ago, I've hired 5 Praxis participants. I've been in a position where I've hired hundreds of different people, in the course of 3 years when I was working at that company that I mentioned earlier. And in numerous occasions, I hired a Praxis participant over somebody who had a college degree and multiple years of experience, because they came in and they hit the ground running. And, they didn't say, hey, tell me what to do every day. It was, there's this problem that I have the power to solve, or I have, some level of autonomy to take a solution as far as possible before I need to ask for permission. And just going and doing it versus asking for permission. That is one of the coolest things that I think our graduates consistently walk away with. All right, so from here, what I would recommend is if you're interested and you think that this is the right fit for you, go submit an application. I would love to see your essays. Well, what I'm going to do is send a follow-up email, most likely tomorrow, so I can upload this video and send a link with this recorded video for you to reference back if you do want to check out the slides more or look back through this. I'll also send you our program guide if you haven't already found that, and I'll send you some other resources. But if you do have any other questions, I'm available over email. My phone number in there as well, but I would love to continue the conversation and answer those then. But I think the best next step is, go get your application in if you think this is the right next step, and we can go from there. I seriously appreciate everybody's time today, and thanks for tuning in, and hope to talk soon.